What began as nothing more than a vicious prank would evolve into something far beyond their imagination. This was the sort of twisted entertainment that privileged young men indulged in when they viewed the world as their personal playground. Within a bustling country club lounge, raucous laughter echoed from a corner booth where several affluent gentlemen gathered, their tailored clothing barely concealing the arrogance that accompanied generational wealth. Daniel Crawford sat among them, 32 years old, a multimillionaire several times over, wielding a smile so rehearsed it served as both arsenal and allure. On this particular evening, through the fog of premium whiskey and hollow machismo, someone hurled forth a dare that sent the entire table into uproarious delight. "I challenge you to wed her. 6 months. Maintain your composure. Demonstrate that you can endure it. I wager you cannot." The target was a woman Daniel had never encountered. A reserved, full-figured server named Lila, employed in the rear kitchen of the club's more modest dining area. She represented the kind of individual these men seldom acknowledged, save for ridicule: impoverished, overweight, non-existent in their perception. Yet Daniel, consumed by the intoxicated hubris of the moment, grinned and declared, "Challenge accepted." In that instant, a wager materialized. One destined to transform everything in ways none present in that room could have possibly anticipated. Before we continue, if you hold faith and compassion, in opportunities for redemption, and in narratives where individuals transcend their apparent limitations, please pause to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Untold Stories 0.4. Your engagement enables us to deliver more authentic emotional narratives to audiences worldwide. Daniel possessed minimal knowledge about Lila when he initially pursued her. She resided in a cramped studio flat situated above a coin laundry in a deteriorating section of the city. Her attire was modest, her footwear weathered, yet her gaze harbored something extraordinary, an unwavering radiance, the variety that emerges from weathering tempests. She remained skeptical when he first invited her out. Gentlemen of his caliber didn't acknowledge women of her station, but Daniel could be captivating when motivated, relentless, and ultimately she consented to meet for coffee. During those initial weeks, Daniel adopted his persona like theatrical garb. He listened adequately, smiled at appropriate intervals, and performed the role of devoted pursuer. To his companions, he chronicled every occurrence with satisfaction. The merciless wager remained his concealed treasure. However, in the tranquil instances when Lila conversed, something unforeseen commenced occurring. She narrated accounts of tending to her younger siblings following their mother's passing, of maintaining dual employment throughout secondary school to sustain utilities, of donating weekend hours at the refuge because she maintained that no individual should experience abandonment. Her voice contained no resentment, only fortitude. Daniel dismissed the peculiar attraction he experienced, convincing himself it constituted mere curiosity, a fascination he would inevitably outgrow. Then arrived the evening when everything began transforming. The occasion was a stormy Thursday when Daniel volunteered to transport Lila home following her shift. Her residential building had experienced electrical failure. Within the shadowy corridor illumination, he observed a hand-sketched calendar affixed to the wall, abundant with annotations for residents, notifications for food bank collections, and birthday greetings inscribed in vibrant markers. The calendar wasn't intended for her benefit. It served everyone within the building. Lila had crafted it personally to ensure elderly tenants wouldn't overlook significant dates. No individual had requested this service. No compensation was provided. She simply cared deeply. That evening, Daniel experienced insomnia. He continued contemplating the manner in which she had smiled at Mrs. Grant, the vision-impaired woman occupying apartment 3B. The way she had discreetly presented her with a heated meal before proceeding to assist a young mother transport groceries upstairs. None of these actions were performed for attention. She remained unaware of his observation. Throughout the subsequent weeks, fractures began developing in Daniel's facade. He ceased encountering his companions following dates with Lila. He discontinued providing reports entirely. He began genuinely listening when she spoke, and started recognizing how differently he felt in her presence. She desired neither his wealth, his position, nor his validation. She perceived beyond the custom-fitted clothing and the elegant sports vehicle. She regarded him simply as Daniel. Yet the wager continued hovering above him like an approaching storm. He hadn't disclosed the truth to her, and the remorse functioned as gradual toxin. Every moment of joy they experienced, Every small gesture of kindness she extended toward him created anguish within his chest because he understood it was all constructed upon deception. The critical moment arrived on the day he proposed marriage. He had orchestrated it as the magnificent conclusion to the wager. An extravagant dinner, a diamond engagement ring, the ideal photograph to transmit to his friends as evidence of his victory. However, when he witnessed Lila enter the candlelit space wearing a modest blue dress and a bashful smile, something within him collapsed. This had transcended mere sport. He loved her, and the realization frightened him deeply. They wed in a modest chapel surrounded by the limited family members and neighbors who cherished Lila. Daniel's friends attended as well, sneering from the rear pews, anticipating the jest's completion. Yet Daniel couldn't perceive their mockery. All he could hear was Lila's voice as she promised to remain beside him through illness and wellness, through prosperity and hardship. She intended every syllable. The revelation emerged 2 months afterward. One of his supposed friends, intoxicated at a charitable fundraiser, inadvertently revealed to a journalist that Daniel's marriage had originated as a wager. The scandal erupted. Headlines depicted him as a callous millionaire who degraded his own spouse. Photographers established surveillance outside their residence. Strangers launched verbal attacks online, and Lila didn't raise her voice. She didn't hurl objects or demand explanations. She gathered a single suitcase and departed without utterance. Daniel located her at the community shelter, cleaning floors as she had before their meeting. Her eyes, previously warm and welcoming toward him, had become protective barriers. He pleaded with her to listen, to comprehend that the wager had concluded long before he requested her hand in marriage, that his love was genuine. Yet Lila simply stated, "Love founded upon deception cannot be love at all." For weeks, Daniel attempted every approach. He contributed financially to the shelter. He dedicated his days to volunteer service. He even vacated their penthouse and relocated to her former neighborhood, assisting her friends with maintenance and tasks. However, it wasn't until he discreetly financed the surgery that restored Mrs. Grant's vision without informing anyone that Lila began trusting him again. It wasn't a dramatic gesture or public confession that reclaimed her affection. It was the subtle, steady kindness that reflected her own character. Gradually, she permitted his return to her life, and eventually, back into her heart. Years afterward, when they renewed their marriage vows in that identical small chapel, Daniel gazed at her with moisture in his eyes and whispered, "The wager was the most terrible decision of my existence, but loving you was the finest." In that moment, everyone present understood they had triumphed over impossible circumstances. If this narrative moved your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Untold Stories 0.4. Your participation helps us continue presenting powerful, emotional stories that remind the world of compassion's strength and redemption's possibility. Before concluding, we have one special request. Leave a comment below sharing what you believe represents the most authentic sign of genuine love.